Did you know that people started charging interest over 4,000 years ago in ancient Mesopotamia? But here's something interesting to think about. If interest is so important to money, why do some famous people like Aristotle and some religions say it is wrong? Are we missing an important piece of the money puzzle?
That's an interesting point, Michelle. The discussion about interest or usury is very old. Aristotle said money should not make more money, as he thought it went against nature. But the Code of Hammurabi set rules for interest rates, showing early societies saw its economic use. Maybe interest was seen not just as a moral issue, but also as a necessary economic tool for growth.
You make a good point, Guy. In the past and now, interest is important for lending and borrowing. This helps the economy grow. Today, interest rates are often used by central banks to control the economy. But remember the 2008 financial crisis, which showed the dangers of too much interest and risky lending. Can we find a way where interest helps the economy grow without causing harm?
The balance Ryan talks about is important, especially as we move to new ways of banking. Think about decentralized finance, or DeFi. It changes traditional banking by offering services without middlemen. Here, interest is decided by computer rules, which can reduce human mistakes. Can DeFi be a new way where interest helps and does not harm? Or can it create new problems due to technology differences?
This chat opens up an interesting question, Sonia. If our ideas about interest are changing, can we imagine a money system without interest? Or is it a key part of how we deal with money? Trying to get rid of interest might teach us what we really care about in money dealings. And if we can't get rid of interest, how can we make sure it helps people fairly? Here's a surprising twist. Did you know that many cultures have used zero interest or non-usurious systems for a long time and often thought of them as too good to be true? If interest is so important, why do these interest-free models keep showing up? Are we missing a real option just because it is different from our usual economy?
That's fascinating, Michelle. History shows examples like medieval Islamic finance and certain Jewish lending practices where charging interest was reduced or not allowed due to religious beliefs. These systems used profit sharing, not interest. Maybe these ideas are not just about some dream world, they might show a strong economic model that could change our current systems. Could these old ways help with modern problems like economic inequality, made worse by high interest loans?
Right, Guy. Recently, people have tried using these ideas in microfinance and community-based lending. The Grameen Bank model is often said to work well without high interest. But before we say these are the ultimate answers, we need to look at how they can grow and last. Can these systems help big economies that usually need profit from interest?
That's an essential point, Ryan. With new technology like blockchain and smart contracts, we can create trust and ensure fair deals without middlemen. Still, these bring problems with control, tech reliance, and fair access to digital tools. Could tech-based systems be as limiting as current interest-heavy finance systems?
You've touched on an important point, Sonia, which leads us to a big question. Is the problem with interest itself, or is it the larger systems that misuse it? Since interest-free models keep appearing in history, is there something about them that feels fair to people? If so, how do we change our financial systems to satisfy that feeling while still growing and succeeding? Some countries have banking without interest next to regular banking. This makes us ask, does having both show the good and bad of each, or does it show we do not understand money systems well?
That's an interesting question, Michelle. In Malaysia, you see both regular and Islamic banks. This respects different cultures and shows the ethics of Islamic banks because they do not allow interest. Can this mix help fix problems like unfairness in interest-driven economies?
Maybe, Guy. Compare that to Sweden, a Western country using negative interest rates to make people spend instead of save. It's different from usual. While it helps the economy short-term, are these plans good for a long time, or do they hide risks? If negative interest stays, will it change normal economic ways we think are certain?
Good point, Ryan. These actions can be flexible short-term, but might make social gaps bigger unless watched carefully. As digital currencies grow, we may have less need for traditional interest. Think about blockchain making systems where computers decide terms. Could this reduce old biases, making things fairer, or add new problems linked to tech access?
These are important points, Sonia. If different ways continue worldwide, could we see financial systems made for local needs? This might help areas align with their cultures and economies, but could it make global banking harder? Should we accept financial variety, not sameness, for stronger economies? Here's something to think about. Interest has helped economic growth for a long time, but people also say it causes inequality and debt problems. Why do we often talk about interest in ethical debates? Are we missing something important about interest?
That's an important question, Michelle. Interest has helped growth, but also raised moral issues. In the Middle Ages, it was seen as wrong in Christian Europe, yet people needed it for growth. Interest is a financial tool, but it also affects society and ethics. Can we balance growth and moral responsibility to change how we see interest today?
Guy, your view of history shows how complex this is. Recently, high-interest loans have hurt low-income groups more, widening economic gaps. This is about ethics. How do we make sure interest helps and doesn't harm people? Maybe rules can stop misuse, but we need systems that care about people. Can interest be ethical if it aims for social progress, not just profit?
That's a great point, Ryan. Behavioral economics shows fair systems can change society. Technology could be a solution. Blockchain's openness can create fair interest systems without banks. But if tech is limited, we repeat past problems. Can digital solutions fix ethical issues or repeat old problems in new ways?
It's interesting how these ethical questions link to old and new practices. If interest rates still cause gaps, should our financial values change with technology? And if rethinking interest can change society's values, could it change our economy?
Think about Islamic finance, which doesn't allow interest but promotes risk-sharing and ethical investments. It focuses on community welfare, not just personal gain. Can using these principles in main banking create a more ethical economy? Maybe adding ethical rules to financial policies can lessen the bad effects of interest.
Guy, this fits with the trend of socially responsible investing. If interest is tied to ethical standards and openness, like in impact investing, we can see it as a tool for change, not just finance. Would moving finance towards ethics help solve concerns about interest?
Ryan, technology is important here. AI can predict loans and adjust interest for fairness, but it raises questions about privacy and transparency. Can AI in finance make access fair and fix injustices, or will it create new ethical problems?
This raises a big question. As ethics and technology come together in finance, are we about to see a change in economic ideas? Or does the changing nature of interest make us keep questioning our ethics? Most people think charging interest is needed for economic growth, but some people disagree. What if technology could replace interest rates? What if one day AI is so good at predicting investments that we don't need interest? Could this change our economy, or are we just holding on to old financial ideas?
That's an interesting question, Michelle. In history, people thought interest was needed for development. But what if predictive AI could judge risks and rewards so well that we don't need interest anymore? Would this remove economic risks or create new problems? Could relying on AI lead to new inequalities, or might it give more people financial access?
Good point, Guy. Some proof shows that algorithmic trading can get gains that seemed impossible before. Still, no system is perfect, and AI has its own biases because of the data it uses. If AI runs financial systems, it could repeat current inequalities. So while AI might handle economic changes well, could it make us less able to deal with financial crises by making us rely on algorithms?
Good question, Ryan. Look at how blockchain and decentralized finance try to change regular banking and question the role of interest. If interest was set without human feelings or bias, would it be totally fair? Or does it give power to people who control the tech? Can tech fairness really bring justice, or would it make the digital gap bigger?
Interesting views, Sonia. It raises the question of if using interest limits us. If AI and blockchain could take the place of interest and make finances clearer, could society have fewer problems? Or do we risk relying too much on technology meant to free us?
It's a tough question, Michelle. Islamic finance wants to get rid of interest and focuses on ethical risk sharing. Could mixing these ideas with AI systems make new ethical standards? Could a mix of tech and ethics lead to financial services that care more about community than just profit?
You made a big point, Guy. Rethinking interest with ethics raises the question, can combining tech and ethics create a fairer system? Using AI for society's good might help financial services reach those in need. Could this be the future of banking, made to help rather than take advantage?
That's a forward-thinking view, Ryan. But ensuring fair access to these technologies is key. Could AI and blockchain make financial power more equal, or are they so complex that only a few gain? Might, depending on these technologies, unintentionally make access gaps bigger instead of closing them?
We face a deep question. If AI and ethical models change economic systems, will this change what we see as progress and success? Are we close to a shift in the economy where technology and ethics together change our ideas about value and equality? During the Middle Ages, charging interest was seen as wrong in Europe. The church said it was sinful, but trade still thrived through smart ways. Maybe this is not about interest itself, but how we use and see it. Are we misunderstanding interest's role? Are there parts missing that could change our financial systems?
Very interesting, Michelle. Not allowing interest led to creative ways like equity partnerships, which help trade in Europe. These old methods show that economies can grow without interest. Maybe they can help us find fair economic models now. Can these old ideas help modern financial systems fix today's unfairness?
Yes, Guy. Islamic finance focuses on sharing risk like those old methods. High-interest loans can be hard for poor groups. Should we switch to systems that reduce inequality? But can these models handle big global economies, or will they break under pressure?
Good point, Ryan. We also need to think about technology's role in this change. Decentralized finance DeFi using blockchain tries to get rid of traditional interest. But it has its own problems. Not everyone knows how to use it, and technology can be powerful. Will DeFi make finance fairer, or build new walls and keep old inequalities under a digital cover?
Exactly, Sonia. These changes make us question old and new economic ways. Can technology and social awareness push us to fairer systems, or could we repeat old mistakes with new tech?
An interesting question. Look at Scandinavia with negative interest rates, which challenges savings. It's different from zero interest in Islamic finance. Can these ideas work everywhere, or are they just quick fixes?
A key point, Guy. While new, these ideas are risky. Negative interest helps short-term growth, but long-term effects are unknown. Are these new ways strong enough for future economies, or are they unstable, and we think they're stable?
New ideas come with tech like smart contracts, which can be fairer by cutting out middlemen. But tech can be complicated and may not always be fair. Can these advances make finance equal, or do they hide new unfairness in a neutral-look algorithm?
You make a strong point, Sonia. Are we creating an inclusive future with ethics and technology, or building tech barriers that increase gaps? If no interest ideas change success, will it change our economic and social values globally?